Home, noun, the place where one lives permanently, especially as a member of a family or household. The place where one lives permanently. During my childhood, I was constantly uprooted and placed in a new location, so that I grew up comforted by the streets of unknown places and the lull of foreign tongues. You see, there was no permanence in the way winter melted into spring, like cherry blossoms blooming, the colour of fresh skins from scraped knees and harsh pavements. Graveyards carved into the side of mountains and circular notions of cement, in the face of the dead staring up at you past golden leaves. And can you hear how they shape their words differently here? Roll the R's and hollow out the A's. It's 11 o'clock, but you can tell from counting the chimes of the grandfather clock in my grandmother's living room. Tea is such a strange concept when your youth reminds you of Milo sipped from the saucer to prevent scolding of young tongues. I suppose that would make me homeless. Just a wanderer, a gypsy, a street dog mongrel, just travelling to the next place it fancies. And I often wonder if I look like one, if people can tell that I don't belong here because they always ask where I'm from, and it isn't a sin to ask, but it always feels like a sin to answer. To choose one place, one land, one people over the other, to choose England over Singapore, when really I don't have the right to claim either. Someone will always know my bluff, and I will always be other to you. Maybe people wouldn't ask if I was of a pure breed, but that's another poem. When I was growing up, home became the bed I was sleeping in. So much so that when we were traveling, we would refer to the hotel as home. And sometimes I feel so homesick. But how can I go home when home never existed in the first place? The truth is, I am no one. I come from nowhere. I am nothing more than words strung together into a poem, nothing but sound and just as fleeting. At the moment, I have a vessel, but soon this vessel will be nothing more than a lingering name, and I will be gone. Maybe there is no such thing as home. Okay. I got one more.
Perfect song.
Okay, the next poem I'll be performing is called Sandalwood and Burgundy. When I was a child, my father made me a sandalwood mala with a tassel the colour of deep red burgundy. And before you use your mala, When I was a child, my father made me a sandalwood mala with a tassel the colour of deep red burgundy. And embellished on it a single skull bead, the physical representation of death, my father had said. It reminds us that we all die one day. And before you use your mala, hold it in your hands, in your palms, and the crooks of your fingertips, and blow onto the beads, my father had said, and imagine them turning into dust. It reminds us that everything will disintegrate one day. And as I pressed my small nose into the beads in my palm, inhaling the scent that never lingered for more than a moment, I asked, Daddy, why do you have to leave tomorrow? Because everyone must leave one day. But don't worry, it's only for work. He'll be back by Friday. And as I grew older, next Friday turned into next week, and next week turned into next month, and I became so accustomed to not seeing him, holding my mala in the clasp by my knuckles, holding my mala in the clasp of my knuckles, each bead whispered prayers of his safety every time he boarded an airplane. He became like a ghost. No more than a memory half the time when looking into picture frames or holding my marl in the clasp of my knuckles, wearing the beads thin with swift prayers, looser and looser, as the scent slowly became that of sandalwood and the residue of citrus on my fingertips. I worry he will not come home one day, and on that day, the beads on my mala will unravel and clatter on wooden floorboards like rain. And on that fateful day, I will slowly collect the beads again. This time he is not there to fix them. Remembering what he said to me those many years ago, that everything must come to an end one day. When I was a child, my father made me a sandalwood mala, the tassel, the colour of deep blood burgundy. Thank you.